Why, hello. Good evening. Welcome to Gadget Talk. Uh, where is everybody? Well, apparently, we've had obviously some substitution tonight. I will be here as your one of your hosts for tonight, and my other host that we have tonight, I will bring on here in a moment. But just to let you know, Derek is under the weather so badly that he will not be able to be on tonight. He sounds like he has a mouthful of pebbles or whatever you want to call it. So he's a mouthful of rocks. So he's not able to host tonight. Chad is off in the world, in the land of the mouse on vacation. So he's not here either. So who else could be along tonight to help along? Who is my special co-host for the night? Let's bring him on. Roomba Cats.
Hey everybody, it's good to see you. I'm glad to be here.
Good to have you, Doug. This is awesome.
Yeah, I love being on these shows.
We can do whatever we want. The regulars are gone. We can do anything we want tonight. So no, people are guessing DJW House. Nope. Got Roomba Cats tonight. And Doug's got some really cool stuff that we're going to show here in a moment. But I do need to do some housekeeping items. So let me get into our sponsors for Gadget Talk.
If you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today.
Logwork, the creators of the fantastic logbook, made with genuine write-in-the-rain paper. The logbook's designed for the micro-containers of the present and future, geared towards the hider who'd rather go caching than doing cache maintenance. Find them at logwork.com. That's LOGWERK.com.
Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pat tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
We've got a lot of fans of Doug. Nobody said anything about me. I mean, it's all about Doug. So that's fine. That's fine. I understand. I know I can see what's going on here. So yes, Doug is a champion at Roomba Cat. I mean, everybody's loving it. Let's see. Chronically Tired Mom. Love when Doug is on. He's always all smiles. Yes, he is. Hey, Doug from Darren down under. Audie. And hey, I got one. My buddy up north, TKD Scouter. Go, Gary. I'm here to support. So tonight, again, we've got sort of a special. Doug has got going to go through some really cool stuff he was telling me before the show started. And I had never thought of what we're about to talk about, because I always think of probably the most, looking at it from the most difficult way to do it. Because remember you said before, you're like, oh, well, you don't need to buy some fancy gadget to do this. You can just do it yourself in a different, and I appreciate the way that you do that. A lot of times is that you can make containers. Yeah. New name, Gadget Gary. Yeah. It's the dynamic duo. It's the two best on Tuesday, 2/22/22. No, Doug makes some incredible stuff, and you do. You can take some really cool, I wouldn't say household items, but stuff you can buy at any hardware store, right? For the most part.
Yep.
And that's the key, I think, is that sometimes we want gadgets and creative caches to be available, to be made by everybody. Everybody has a chance to make them. So I guess where do you want to start? Do you want to give kind of the theme for tonight, and then you want to get into some of the photos and things we're going to show, or where do you want to start?
Yeah, let's do that. So right now I'm going to tell you about what I'm going to be discussing, and that is something called resin casting. So resin casting is you create a mold off of something you want to replicate. Let's say you've got for example, here's a great example. This is a very large Cryptics wheel. So I have a Cryptics wheel. It's kind of hard to see with the light, but there's numbers on here.
Looks good.
They're raised numbers.
Yeah.
And there's about 20 of them in this Cryptics I have. It's about 2 feet long. It's really big. And so
which is great.
I thought this would be a lot of fun. How do you make that? How do you make something like that? And why would you want to use resin casting to make this? So, here's the big thing. It takes very little upfront investment to make something like this. If you can create the original one, it's very simple to actually make a duplicate and make lots of duplicates with this. This is plastic. It's something called polyurethane, and it comes in 2 parts. You mix them together, and here's so 2 parts. I'm going to show you. I'm going to make sure everybody has this kind of stuff, but it's very common. You can find this stuff all over the place, and all you have to do is create a mold. For example, this is a mold. It's just rubber mold, just wiggles and you can make a casting. And by just pouring liquid into that, this polyurethane, this is part of a puzzle that I'm making so that it slides left and right as you get a series of these. So you get a little ball through the maze by sliding this little puzzle left and right, again and again and again. So
that's awesome.
So what did it take? So what did it take to make this? Just this one part. So with this mold, there's about $1 worth of rubber right there. It's silicone rubber. Nothing sticks to this stuff. It's really amazing. And so you pour the polyurethane in there, and you can get these little sections out of it. You can see kind of how that works.
Yeah.
So
hold that thought, Doug, for 1 second. We've got some random person trying to join the show. So I thought if we take a moment, I'm going to bring him on, and then we'll get back into the topic. So let me see whoa.
Hey everybody.
Who's this guy?
Going. I'm not going to be on very long just because I didn't bring my earpieces and it's really hard to hear.
That's okay. Go for it.
But thanks for jumping on the podcast for me. And unfortunately, it was sad to hear Derek couldn't make it tonight either.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to jump in from Abu here in California. So
check out behind you there.
It's nice we come down from Seattle to enjoy the sun in LA, and it's raining. So it was in the 70s last week when we landed, and now it's cold and rainy. So anyways, it's fun. But anyways,
you got the Millennium Falcon behind you there?
Sorry?
You got the Millennium Falcon behind you there?
Yeah, it's right back here. It's kind of cool. You can kind of see we're in the middle of the whole Naboo area here, in the middle of Star Wars land or Galaxy.
Sweet. Galaxy Quest or Galaxy Land, whatever they call it. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So anyways, I can't hear you. So I just thought I'd stop in and say hi to everybody. And anyway, and say thanks for jumping in for you and Doug tonight. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you guys
Chad.
later. All right.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah.
Sorry, Doug. Okay.
That was awesome. Great background.
Yes. Ninja, Pizza Ninja. If anyone get the hyperdrive back online, Chad can. That's for sure. Hyperdrive not working. It's supposed to work. It's supposed to be working. Okay. All right. So yeah, go back to um
So what I want to do is talk about
talk about those, show those again.
the ease and usefulness of this. So one of
Yeah.
the great things is that it doesn't cost a lot of money. You can do it just about anywhere, and you can. So this is about $1 worth of silicone rubber.
Okay.
It starts out as a liquid. You mix two parts together, and it forms this so I made the original pieces out of wood and cast that. So I started out with very humble beginnings.
Okay.
And ended up with a whole bunch of these. Here, let me get the
Right.
angle right. And so I have about 100 of these in my cache. And so there'll be a whole, this is going to be a really fun cache. What I wanted to do is just say it's very simple to do. It doesn't take a lot of investment. You don't have to learn how to program. There's a lot of great things about 3D printing, but if you have the original, you can make tons of them. And so that's what I wanted to share with everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you some examples. So here's another one. So this is my original. This actually is, and we'll see this a little later, is part of a lightsaber. This is a Cryptics Wheel. And this is just made out of PVC pipe. It has a little bit of PVC on the inside of it. And then it has these peel and stick numbers that I put on it. So after I do the mold, let me pull it out of the mold here.
While you're doing that, that's something that I think really, there you go. Oh,
So cool. I used a little bit of powdered aluminum in there, and it comes out nice and shiny like this. We'll take a picture of the actual cache when I'm a little later, so you can see how this all works.
Cool.
So you can do large pieces. You're really not limited to the size like you would have on a 3D printer, but this is one that's just hidden in plain sight, and you'll see some pictures of how this is. So this looks like a capped water main, and it opens up like this, and you can get your cache out of there, and it's just sitting in plain sight. There's one out there right now, and it is right next to a high school, and it's been there for 6 years.
Wow.
So that's the great thing. But it started out as an actual part. So this is actually a water main that gets welded onto a tube. And I put these bolts in there, and I made a resin casting of it. And here's an example of what it is. So it's missing a couple of bolts, but they're nearly identical. The detail that came out is excellent. And so you can't take it apart.
I think you can buy that like at a Home Depot or a Lowe's. I think you can buy those. Yeah.
Right, and that's where I got them. Was Home Depot and so here's an example of the cap. This was painted yellow, similar to one, and I added a kind of a rust to it, and I'll give you an example if you're curious about how I did the pitting and everything for the rust. But in the end, so this is a very inexpensive piece. This is just PVC pipe right here, the end cap, and then I just glued on this part of it right here, but it's very convincing. Something that allowed me to put a cache in a very trafficked area. And so it was a lot of fun to put it there. People are always enjoy finding this one. Very simple cache. People really enjoy it. So there's other ways that if you want to make gears for your cache, this is kind of an encoder wheel right here that I have for my Jumanji Cache. I have a couple of other caches that use these gears. So this is resin cast from a wood gear that I got off of Etsy. And I stamped these little numbers and letters in there kind of thing and just filled it in with a little blue paint. But very simple. This is 25 cents kind of thing. I have tons of them. So again, I wanted to say is if you're going to make something with a lot of the same parts like the Cryptics or gears or things like this is a great way to do it. And it's very fast. You can create them over and over again. And so I think also maybe there might be a question as to what kind of detail could you get with molds like this.
Hold that thought for a minute, Doug. A couple things that I want to bring up real quick when we're starting this topic, and that is a couple things that have come up in the chat room. One is, and I'm not going to pick on Chronically Tired Mom because her and I think much alike on many things, but she says it must be nice to have such creative genius. Not so much for this woman. And what I'm thinking is that I think she's underselling her creative genius a little bit. I mean, she is like the rest of us, I think, and that is we sometimes need to stop, look around, and look at things. And so I think, like Doug said, you could probably go to some spot and look around and see what you just kind of observe, and you might notice some things. And so you'd be surprised. I have found caches that they're hidden in plain sight, but the person thought so. They took the time to look around a spot, and they, you know what? Oh my gosh, they figured out a way to, like, it was one of them that comes to mind was, it was like, you know how in a parking lot, Doug, where you've got just regular, you got those cement, like, they're not speed bumps, but they're like where you're supposed to park. They got those
the parking blocks. Yeah,
the parking blocks, and somebody had figured out how to put on the end of one of those a really clever container that blended in perfectly with the parking block. And so you don't see it, nobody notices it, but if you go over and look, you go, that's not part of the parking block, but it looks like it is. And I think that's the kind of thing that I get excited about, that is possible. Like you said, you could do, with permission and so forth, you could do that crazy thing you showed. And it's nothing that, it was more just you observed that was something that could be done, right?
Right. Yeah. And so a lot of what I do is I try to make geocaches or gadget caches that are hidden in plain sight. That's one of the genres that I try to create.
Right.
And so what I want to do is replicate something that already exists. It could be a hinge on a utility power thing, or it could be anything that looks like, it's like, oh, what do you know? There's 3 on this side and 2 on this side. I wonder what it is. And so I like to create things that blend in, that to a geocacher, they would look at it and go, okay, I see it. I understand.
Clever.
It.
But
I'm gonna yank on that and see what happens.
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. So, and then Houston, Texas Dave, we'll get back on topic here in a second. I'm sorry. But Houston, Texas Dave said he came in a little late. Good to see you, buddy. He was in an event, but he came in and he goes, we're talking about 3D printing stuff. And I go, no. I put in the chat room, no, we're not 3D printing stuff. We're resin casting items.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about this is you don't have to invest in a lot of material or in equipment, or learn how to program, or have access to databases and everything, and do a lot of research. Anything that you have that you want to recreate this 3D, such as a hinge, or it could be almost anything. And you can actually recreate it very easily. And I'm going to do an example of that. What I'm going to do is I've got this little safe dial, and I'm going to create a little mold. And so there's the dial, and here's the little bezel, and I'm going to glue those in, and I'm going to show you how simple it is to actually create another one of these, how to create the mold. And so we're going to do it.
And we'll have the Doug's got the parts list, if you want to call them parts, the resin. We're going to give everybody the information about what you want to buy and how you what you want to do for that. So go ahead.
Right, you should be able to buy everything on Amazon. Yeah. And so, like, for example, the resin here is A and B. I got this off of Amazon. There's dyes that you can use so that you can color what you're making, so that it comes out the right color that you're looking for, or you can make true. Or whatever. So there's so many things that you can do that you can also do with 3D printing, but it's, like I said, it's something that's very simple and easy to do. And so
some of those too, Doug, they're bigger than most 3D printers. I mean, you could make, the sky's the limit except you got to buy enough resin. But like you said, the one you showed is a good example of, typically that's not something you can 3D print. It's too big for a 3D printer.
Yeah, I've actually got a rock that's about this big.
Right.
It's bigger than that, and it's using this silicone mold. So I made something out of fiberglass, and it's very lightweight. So the problem, I make concrete rocks, and they're once they get a certain size, they're kind of big and hard to turn over.
Right.
But because they're about 3/4 of an inch thick, but using this non-sticky stuff, which is really amazing, I've made some fiberglass rocks that are very easy to turn over and
cool.
provide lots of room on the inside.
Right. Very cool. Room for an ammo can.
Yeah, exactly. Room for a
Yeah,
man, and that's exactly what I made it, designed it for. Is just the ammo can will fit in there just fine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So
One of the questions I think people have is, what kind of detail can you get? Can you achieve the same detail? So because most people will notice something if it doesn't look right. They can tell you what it is, but they just know it doesn't look right. And so how do you make something that's going to replicate the original with the highest fidelity possible? Now,
Right.
here's an example of a little what do they call it? It's a signature item that I'm
Right.
using. This is a Roomba cat, and so this rides a little Roomba.
It's a Roomba cat.
So
it's a cat riding a Roomba.
It has pretty good detail. So
It is. That's good.
Detail came out on it.
Yeah, you can see the fur and everything, and that's something I wasn't sure about on those, Doug, because I was thinking that those because when I think of the resin printer, I think of it sort of being gloppy, but you were saying that it really will get into the nooks and crannies
Right.
of your mold. That's awesome. Yeah.
You can get very high fidelity. And
Very good.
So
Good to
we'll
know.
see a picture of a bunch of dials I created, and picking up those little 3D terrain on that came out beautifully. I mean, if you want to go through some of the pictures, this would be great.
Yeah. Here we go.
So I went through a phase where I wanted to say, what can I do with a dial?
Right.
What do dials do besides, they use them on safes? But what I wanted to do is everybody just thinks about, let's say, okay, it's a dial, it's a combination, I got to put in the right thing. But this is all just kind of misdirection in some of the things I'm doing. So this is something called the 7-Up cache. And so if you go to the next one, so you have to put the combination in based on, that's all you get, 7-Up. And so you can probably guess what it is. So put the dial at
awesome.
7.
The
dial literally lifts up, and just like a latch, and you can open it up.
That's
so I wanted
awesome.
to see how many different ways could I use a dial. And so in a way that, go ahead and go to the next.
Yeah.
And this is the inside of the 7-Up. You can see how the little latch hooks on the little lock down there.
And it unlocks. It's like it's like the handle. It opens.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Exactly. Right. And so it stays put. And so go ahead to the next one there.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're back to this again. And so that's the resin mold that I use. So you can see that it's fairly simple. There's probably $5, maybe less of and so I just if you go to the next one, you can see how I just poured the resin in there.
Oh,
that's not
that one.
Okay,
there you go.
So those are the originals that I used to make that mold. So I just bonded those down into a little box, and I poured the resin or the silicone mold material over it. It hardened, and I removed them. Right. So you can kind of see what's going to happen here. So go ahead in the next one. So like I said, it's very simple. Oh, so we're back to the dials.
Oh, sorry.
So this is another example of the dials. What could I use a dial for? So I made a whole bunch of dials, and you'll see these in a minute. There's probably 20 dials. And so
there you go. There's the ones.
Yeah, there you go. So those are the originals that I removed for the mold.
Right.
Right.
So you got the mold. You're making the mold, but then you're filling it with the resin. Okay. So you got it's sort of a two-step process. You got to make the mold.
Right.
But but to make how difficult is it then to make the mold that you're going to?
So
this
example is I just created a small box just out of cardboard, and I glued these little things. They have like a flat side on each of them. Glued those down with little hot glue gun, and poured this silicone goop over it, and it hardened in a couple of hours. And when it was done, I pulled the mold out and removed these, and it was that
Okay,
simple.
cool. So even making the molds is not difficult.
No, very simple.
And then mixing the resin, like you said, it's going to be fairly simple as long as you have the right products and so forth.
Right.
And then you pour it in there, and since it's not, you don't have to prep the mold any more than that. So just the nature of the mold is such that whatever that resin's not going to stick to it, right? You don't have to do any kind of okay, cool. I know, because
it's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, because so many things you hear about where you've got to use some graphite powder or some kind of something that so it doesn't stick to it. But this is great. You don't have to do any there's no post prep to the molds. That's awesome.
Right. So the resin is really sticky stuff, the polyurethane resin, but it's essentially glue that hardens kind of thing, but it doesn't stick to the silicone. It's really a wonderful thing. And you can buy this online, and it comes in different colors. I'm gonna make a mold tonight and show you how it works and kind of the things you look out for and how simple it is. I think you're gonna be amazed.
Wow.
So let's go to the next one.
Okay. That's your video.
Okay, here's another.
You want to do the video?
Let's go to the next one after that. So let's stick. There's a.
Oh, there we go. This one. Let's see. Let me go down to. There's that one.
So that's after the part was removed from the mold. So I wanted to create
painted it. That's very cool.
A fake rust. So I sprayed it with brown paint, put coarse salt on it, and when they did the top coat, and when you put it under water, it dissolves the salt and leaves a kind of a 3D. Yeah,
it leaves like pitting, or not really pitting, but it leaves. It looks like it's been scratched off, right? That's awesome.
And it's amazing how convincing it is.
That is awesome. Yeah,
super simple.
That is cool. I think this is the one you're talking about where so you poured it in the I like the fact that you, again, I maybe I'm being too simplistic about it, but I love the fact that you can just recolor the resin. You don't have to paint the resin. Because I'm thinking you would pour it and then try to paint it, but just put the color right inside of it. It's perfect.
Yeah, right. It comes out perfect. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. Okay, so this is a great example of my Jumanji Cache. So how did I make the Jumanji Cache? It looks like it's carved and everything. It is 80% resin mold, so it's very simple to create. I wanted something that would allow me to make a whole bunch of them because it's such a unique and interesting cache. So even like the puzzles inside of them are mostly resin cast, and you'll see some of
that. Is really cool. Yeah, for people who don't know, this one's this Jumanji Cache that you've done, Doug, is really, really good. It has a ton of favorite points, doesn't it?
I actually haven't put it out yet.
Not this one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was about
a different one.
Yeah. So I had to go back to California real quick for some things.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance, but as soon as I get back to Texas.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Okay. So
this is one of the puzzles, which is resin cast. So there's a bunch of blocks that you have to form into a sentence to get the code, and then the next one next to it there, I think, should have
some more of that
blocks assembled.
Oh, there you go. That's really cool looking.
So that's this. You can see that the gears are resin cast. The center part is resin cast. The little blocks above the top are resin cast, and even the little wooden sections, the little doors are resin cast as well for most of them.
Wow.
So it goes really quick. I can make one. I can make several of these in one day.
That's awesome.
And so it makes. So I just wanted to. It was more of an experience. Like I wonder how easy I could make one of these.
Right.
And so these little guys are resin cast, and so I just sculpted them out of clay, made the mold just like I told you, like I showed you, and just resin colored the parts. And so here's something you don't have to go. So go back to the previous.
Oh, you'll go back to the thing.
Yeah.
Let me get to the right one. Sorry, there. This one. Oh, this one. Right? Nope. This
Yeah,
one.
that's one.
Yep.
So you don't have to use resin all the time. You can make your mold, and in this case, I use concrete. And so there's my neighbor has a bunch of holes in his fence. He is facing a very open area, I think. And so I said, hey, how would you feel if I covered that up and made a geocache out of it? And I said, how'd you feel about that? He says, absolutely, I love it. And so I made this fake block. There's another block picture just like this one. So it has this decorative finish on some of the blocks that look just like that and extend out a little bit. And so it looks like it completely belongs. And it was very simple. I just took a mold. I just painted on this material onto the block that was there, made a replica, and just put it over the hole. And that is where the cache will be found.
That is awesome. Yeah. Hugh is asking about, do you have a video showing us how to do it? An example video. Well, we're actually going to show you tonight an example. So that helps. You probably have some more too as well. I don't know if you have other videos that you could show, but I do know tonight we're going to be showing some of that. So,
okay. Absolutely. And
so
as soon as you learn how to replicate something, you can use all kinds of material. You can use epoxy. You can use a glue gun. You can actually, I've made parts out of a glue gun that actually, for prototyping and stuff like that. Super easy to make. And you can put magnets in those real easy, put them on something. And so you don't have to learn how to 3D print to make some really great hidden caches.
There's a cool one. Look at all those.
So this is a cache that I'm going to be that is almost done. So you have to get this ball down to the bottom to a certain location, and you can see the 1-inch steel ball there. And so
right here,
this is a great example of two parts that made a really interesting cache. So I only had to make a mold for each one of those, or for just two parts, and I could replicate them again and again. And it's really neat. It's very unique, very interesting, and it's a lot of fun to play. And so this is a great example of using resin molding and making the same part over and over again and make it come out really neat.
That is awesome. There's more of your
So when you assemble those blocks in the Jumanji, you'll figure it out. And it says, what is a word made from deal? And that would be lead, L-E-A-D, and so that's the combination of one of them.
That's awesome.
So every there's 4 puzzles in there, and so
that is cool. Sorry, we're skipping around a little bit, but the video, somehow they came around. Yeah, so there you are, getting that put together for that. That's really cool.
Again, here's the part. So like I said, there's I'm not sure if I included a picture, but there's these several of these blocks that are textured, as you can see, just for decoration around. And so this replicates something that's already there.
Oh yeah. There was a question earlier I wanted to ask you or put in there. Don't know this one. This is a question Engineering 42 is asking about ever embedding electronics in your castings. Wonder if it would be good to make sealed waterproof gadgets.
Yeah, resin is very non-electrolytic, and so it makes a great insulator, and also it makes a great heat sink. So if you feel like you're not going to have to get in to replace it, or if you can make it modular, that's a really great way to do it and make it integral to the cache that you're making. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, very cool. Let's see. Yeah, Texas Dave is asking literally how to do this. We're going to do it tonight. We're going to show you some of the steps. So,
yep.
All right. Yep.
So there's so much information on this on the internet, on YouTube especially. There's a place that has tutorials, or it's a company that sells and makes props for movies and that kind of thing. It's in Dallas, Texas, but they have, it's called Brick in the Yard. It's an odd name for a company, but they have so many tutorials about how to make something bigger or smaller. You can resin cast something and it'll come out smaller. You can do a penny and make it a huge penny, or you can take something that's large and the mold will literally shrink over time, and you can resin cast something in a smaller mold, in like a miniature version of that. There's so many things you can do. And so, I mean, you can make life masks, and there's, like, for example, recently I had to do some wall repair in my house, and I just took a mold of the texturing that I have, and I just basically just pushed it up against the some compound that I put up there, and it recreated the texture perfectly. So it made it really easy to get in there.
So cool.
Yeah.
That is clever, very clever. Because it, like you said, now when you did something like that, because you're like up in the air, is the well, or is it become more of a putty? Is it become like a putty type?
So there's something you can get called silicone mold putty, and I'll share an example of that. And I use that to make this is the bezel right here for. So I'm not sure what here it is. So, anyway, for that mold. So this is actually just putty. So you basically take A and B, and I just squished it over the bezel that I had, and I made a great mold out of it. Cool. This is the dial right here, and so you can mix A and B together. Now, another technique that you can do is you can use in. So when you pour your molds, it just kind of levels out, and it fills every little nook and cranny that can. But one of the great things is you can add something called a Thixotropic Compound, and what this does, and here's some of it. You can add this to it, and it becomes creamy like toothpaste. And so when you paint it on something, it'll stay there. It's amazing the properties that you can get with this material. So if you want to replicate something you see somewhere, you can just paint it on and just let it dry and make a duplicate of it. If you want to make a cache that's hidden in plain sight.
So if you don't want it to be sort of in its fully liquid form, where you're wanting, because there's times when you want it to be in, like you said, fully liquid form, because you want it to fill all the nooks and crannies. You can add that, and it becomes like you said, it's like a toothpaste. So you could then that the resin can then become sort of, like you said, it can be done. You can use it in a different way to mold instead of having it just run everywhere. Okay, that's
it
cool.
thickens it up. It makes it it's no longer runny. Where you put it is where it's going to stay.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll make sure a link of that is on there if you want to try.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Where do you want to go next? You want to do some more photos or videos?
More photos.
Okay, let me bring that back up. That's very cool. Yeah, I'm loving the. Sorry, we're a little out of order on some of them, but
that's okay.
I think we'll be good. Okay, there we go. All right, let's just jump down a little bit. I saw that you did. We'll get to that one in a minute.
Oh, this is the 2-part putty right there.
Yeah, there's the 2-part putty. So,
yeah.
And again, we'll have the details that we'll provide for everybody in the notes. But yeah, there you go. You could probably buy any hardware store or Amazon.
Yeah, I got this from Amazon.
Amazon, yeah. So you can buy it as a kit, right? You can buy the A and B. You don't have to buy them separate. You can buy them, and that's what's in the box. Probably is both of those.
Let's say you came across a wrought iron fence. It's very ornamental, and saw that something may have been missing from that. Something had broken off, but it existed somewhere else on the fence. You could just go over there and just make a little putty mold of it, pull it off in about an hour, make your resin casting, and put it back where it's supposed to be. That would be a really great cache find, because it hidden in plain sight. they'll be wondering how you did it.
It blends right in.
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually replacing the peat. Yeah, that's awesome. And so you can make these.
Right, and so this is where I got the little dial. I just bought a little toy safe. I think everybody's familiar with these. You'll see these used to be in toy stores a lot. But the nice thing about this, and the great thing about silicone molds, is the dials have little scribed ticks and numbers in it.
Yeah.
And so the silicone mold picks up that detail beautifully. And so all you have to do is, if you tint it the resin black, just take a little paint, put it over there. It fills in the little indentations, wipe the rest of it off, and you get beautiful, perfect dials.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So this is a great example of making gears. So this I think is a nightclub, but if you have a bunch of gears and you don't want to spend a ton of money, let's say you rotate one of the gears until you actually get the password. I thought this was very clever.
Oh, yeah. Because you can have they're all mixed up, but yet if people move it around, or do you have to pull all those little cogs off and then try to put them back? Or
they're all connected. They're all connected.
Okay. So you guys,
you crank one handle, and eventually they line up.
Eventually they line up. That's clever. Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
Pretty neat.
Yeah.
And so this is an example of a lot of the same parts. So if you look at the right-hand side, the little white dots there, those are like half wheels. And so when the log is in place, it locks the log. And I have a video of it. But this made, originally I had to cut out each of the little discs on the right-hand side inside that little pocket. So as the blocks turn, there's words on each of these. You got to put them in the right order. But it made it so much easier to make replicas of this. Now, the great thing about a cache like this is you could have matching things, anything that you need to match, or if you have trivia questions, you could put your answers on each one of these. So these are a really great way to set up a way so that when you get them all in the right order, or they're all correct, you can remove the log. And there's a video of that.
That's clever.
So you can see that this is all resin cast, the log. And you can see the indentation. So as long as that flat side on those little wheels is in the right spot, you can pull this log out. Otherwise, as it's rotated, it fills in those little slots on the left-hand side of that log.
Oh, clever. It's kind of like a cryptex, but it's a different word.
Yeah.
It's a word cryptex versus the letter cryptex. That's awesome. Is this the one?
So made very simple using resin casting.
Okay. We're showing the video right now.
This one is, let's see if I can remember. Oh yeah, so this is a Uno cache. So another use of the dials. And so this, you have to figure out the combination from your Uno cards. 3 dials.
Very slick.
So if you see my, so this is the benefit of having lots of dials to play with.
Yeah.
So you match up the color.
Clever.
Yeah, you match up the color and to get the numbers.
Right. 19 for the first one.
So the nice thing about resin casting is that you can make a whole bunch of the same ones and use them in different ways. So every cache I have that has dials in it is different. And so it's one of the things, so you can get it open that way.
That's awesome.
And so it's not just like a one-shot deal. Oftentimes you can reuse the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So this one is a lot of fun. Very simple.
Spoons cache.
And so there's your combination right there.
That's awesome. Clever. So because people are like, be spinning that thing all day.
Right.
But if they just kind of work it just right, it'll open. It's awesome.
So once you come up with the mechanics, so
there you go. There's one.
Yeah. So here's an example. So at
go
the
ahead.
end of the
I'll
video,
stop for a second. Go ahead. Pause it. Go ahead. Tell about the other one. Yeah, that's awesome.
So just that yeah, once you come up with something, you can use it over and over again. So the economy of using the resin casting really comes into play because the mechanics of how to solve a problem is often something you can use a prop for over and over again in different ways.
True. So here's the one. It's sort of a word cryptex in a sense. So, and the cool thing about it is you can't, if you don't have the answer, you can't see where the correct answer would be.
Right.
And so you can't just guess.
You're trying to connect words here.
Uh-huh.
You're starting out with stone, and you
Right.
have to end up with sword. And so this is called word chain. It's out there right now.
Cold shoulder. Yep. Shoulder
Could be-
count.
right? And you'll see at the end of this of this video, you can see the connection. Cold stone, yeah. And so when I pull this out,
drawn sword. Ta-da! I love it. That's
there's a
that one.
little addition here of how this all works. You can see them. So this is my original. They were made of wood, but eventually I made them out of made those little wheels resin cast, which made and also the log. So I made it very simple to make very easily. I think I got 5 of these now. I have plans. Yeah.
That is great.
That's how it works. Yeah. So here's an example of a Cryptics. Again, the wheels are the same. The little coder wheels are the same every single time. So on this one, you have to answer for 6 episodes how many limbs, arms, and legs were removed in Star Wars 1 through 6. So if you can get that order right, this is a tough one. You have to be a real Star Wars aficionado to get this. So it's just like a Cryptics. And so if you can, there's a video I give you to watch, and you can count the how many times that happens.
That's clever. Very clever. And as we mentioned before, let's see. There's a picture of you putting it in the
right. So
now you can I'm sorry, Doug. You can reuse those boxes, right? Because you're just the box is not okay, cool. Yeah, because you're just making the foam part.
Nothing gets damaged in this, so you can remove the material mold material once it hardens, and once you do that, you can use it over and over again. Absolutely.
Cool. Now, in a case like this, you're kind of wrapping it all the way around. Would you then cut? Would you cut it to make 2 pieces, or how does it? Or is it flexible enough that you can get your original part out of the mold?
Just like in my Jumanji figures with the monkey and the rhino and everything, it's called undercutting, or basically there's a, it won't just pull out easily. But the great thing about silicone molds is they're so soft and flexible that you can remove them, and since nothing sticks to them, all you have to basically do is push on the bottom of the mold, and they'll pop right out in most cases.
Oh wow, very cool. Okay, awesome. All right. So, did you want to kind of show?
Right. Yeah, it looks like
everybody how this kind of works, or give people kind of reset a little bit and show them what you're going to do again.
Yeah, absolutely. So
we had some more people join.
So I'm gonna drop my little bezel here. Okay, so we're gonna resin cast that little dial that I showed you. So I've already glued that into the box. So I just made this out of plywood, and this is going to hold the mold material.
Anyway. You had a little light by you still look good.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. No problem.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And so so I'm going to glue this. I'm going to just put a little bit of hot glue on it right here. And hold it down there. Okay, so there it is. And so I'm going to show you how to mix it. So I've taken this mold material, so that it comes in this 1 gallon kit, and you don't have to buy that much of it. So I put it in this into this bucket. You can see it's kind of white color, and it flows fairly slowly. So this is something, the catalyst. So this is just has some materials in it that cause the silicone. So I'm going to pour it in there and mix it up. And this is all it is. So just mix it up real good so that you don't have that marble effect.
Right. Get it all properly done. That's good.
Now you can get air bubbles in it, but there's a way of eliminating that so you don't get those little air bubbles sticking to your parts.
Okay.
So you can see that I've mixed it up, and there we go.
Yep.
And so it's changed from the white to the orange color. They come in various colors. I've got some blue molds, I've got some green molds, I've got other ones. And so I'm going to point my little camera down here.
Here you go. Yep.
Okay. So here we go. And so it is literally this simple. So I'm going to just start filling the mold here. Now you can see there's little bubbles in there. You can see it. So how do you get rid of those? This is the biggest and best secret I've ever learned about this. So if you pour it very slowly, you can see these bubbles stretch. And so they'll eventually, and if you keep pouring it into a little corner of that and let it flow over everything, those bubbles will disappear.
Gotcha. Just don't get in a big hurry and glop it all in.
Right. Don't be in a big hurry or just put it anywhere.
So stream it in a little bit.
Right. And so
let it
if you could have the patience to do this,
right,
you are golden. And so unfortunately, this is going to take a couple of hours to cure and for it to turn to the hard rubber. It's actually not very hard. It's pretty flexible and soft.
Right.
But you can see how easy it is. So once you create your mold.
Yep. Now how
that's it.
What did you use again for your box? Did you to make the box? Did you say did you seal it somehow? How did you seal the
so I just glued it. I just used wood glue on it, and so all I do is I basically just take some pliers and break it apart. It comes apart pretty easy. Okay. And so so what's going to happen is the little bubbles are going to raise to the top, anything remaining, but there's hardly any bubbles. And so that's the great thing about pouring it in the way it was poured in that you stretch those bubbles and they pop, and they won't get bubbles on your parts when you make a casting.
So it doesn't have to be like airtight. It just, I mean, it's just the wood sealed. It's not like, so it's solid enough that it's gonna.
If there's any kind of crevices or anything like that, the best way to do it, and I typically just take what am I thinking of? Painter's tape, and I'll just put around the very bottom of them. So that way, if there's any kind of leaks or any gaps that you may have missed, or you can fill it with the what am I thinking of? The glue gun in the corners, kind of thing.
True.
And so that's the best way to do it.
Just make sure it's pretty solid. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So there was a little leak right here on this one, and I just filled it with glue from the glue gun.
Oh yeah.
And that should do it. It really is that simple. If you want to make dials and use them over and over again, if you want to make a Cryptex and use that same dial over and over again, if you want to make gears, it's that simple. And so once you pull that out, you mix equal parts A and B together in a cup, and I'm gonna show you as it's kicking off. So I measured this is A and B of the polyurethane resin. So here we are. We're gonna mix it together, and I'm just using a little soda straw.
Right.
So it starts out. Now it's going to take a couple of minutes for this to kick off.
Right.
But as soon as it starts kicking off, and you'll see it turn white.
Oh, okay. That gets that the two are starting to come together.
Right. Exactly. So it's starting. Okay. So, anyways, so as soon as that, I'll pull that up and you can see.
Okay.
It.
We'll show that in a minute.
So here's what I want to show everybody. It's not that hard to do. If you see something that would make a great hidden in plain sight cache, this is a really great way to do it.
Yeah,
not hard to do. The investment up front is fairly low, and it's a lot of fun. And so it doesn't take. So here's a part that I resin cast. This is part of a little. It holds a little vials of. It came out. So here it is. So I'm pulling it out of the mold.
Right.
There we go. Came out great. Look at that. You know, it's almost finished quality. There's a little bit of flashing, on there.
Yeah, a little clean up, but not bad.
But that's simple.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now,
you could add it. You could take like a geocoin,
yeah.
put it in there, and you could take that and send it out in the world and keep your coin. It's like you can make there's
This is
plenty of
how
uses for it.
So when they cast gold for wedding rings and that kind of thing, they use the same silicone. It is very high temperature. You can pour that gold in there and it'll set. And they use the same method as with the reds. Now there's things that you can make that this is like a 3D. So this is that Donkey Pong.
Yeah, Donkey Kong.
So I was using Donkey Pong. So you basically, as these ping pongs come down, I think I got a picture.
I'll show
it
that.
kicks the ping pong balls up into this little thing. So I called it Donkey Pong. But I thought that would be a fun cache. But so on this one, it's 3D. So there's no flat side to it.
Right.
So all I did is I created a square mold. There's two parts to this because the back end kicks up. This is just glued in place, and it kicks. It'll be more articulated. There's a spring in there actually, and so. But how do you get something that's 3D? So you can see it's fairly intricate and everything. But so the great thing about this mold is you can cast the whole thing. Let's see, pull it apart. So you can cast this part of it into a block and then just cut, with the X-Acto knife, spread it apart and take it out and then put it back together and it'll hold its shape. If you hold it just a little bit in place and pour the mold, you can extract that out of it. Something that's 3D and that nice. It's amazing.
There's Donkey Pong.
Yeah. So this one is almost done. Basically, you've got these falling ping pong balls, and you have a little lever that you make the donkey kick into the thing. And once you have that hold,
Bill on the Move was asking about moving the flashing. Do you use X-Acto knife is probably the best?
Yeah, absolutely.
Something sharp, razor blade, right?
Yeah.
So X-Acto knife will work great.
It needs very little sanding. Now the thing is, you can get 50 to 100 parts out of a mold before it starts to weather, because it does get pretty hot. Oh, hi, I missed it. So
there it goes.
You can see how this kicked off. You can still see some of the resin a little bit, just hasn't fully, but it turned white. So it was kind of a brown color. Now it's turned white.
Turned white.
Yeah. So
and then you could, and then how long does it take from that to where you could actually, if it was in a mold, for example, how long would you wait until you actually would extract it?
So this is fully hard at this point, and you can remove it. So it doesn't take long at all. Now the thing is, the thinner areas tend to take longer because they don't get as hot. And so the cure is So it all depends on how thin it is. The more resin you have, the faster it'll kick off because it kind of feeds on itself. It does get kind of warm. I mean, you can touch it. It's not
but still, you can tell that there's the reaction of the two together creates a little bit of heat.
And so in many cases, somebody will create a little V in the top of the mold. So the little part where you pour the resin in into the hole, and that V, so it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. So that where the tip of that V is as soon as that cures, you're ready to demold. That's a really good way of checking it. Yeah.
But you could leave it overnight; it wouldn't hurt anything.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to make a whole bunch of them, like I did with the Cryptexes and stuff, I made an entire Cryptex in one day. Pretty easy.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 foot.
Right. Incredible. And this, what's the, and again, we'll have the information for everybody. What's the generic, how much, other than your own stuff, but as far as the A and the B and the resin for the resins, and then the product to make the molds, how much cost do you think it is to buy a big, like what's in round terms, how much do you think that is cost wise?
So this, so the A and B polyurethane resin, I think it's $24 for these.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
And we only used a tiny bit today.
Yeah.
And now I do a lot of mold making because it makes
So, yeah, so you're buying the big one.
This was about 65 for this, but it's
That's
an
a lot,
entire
though.
gallon. It's
Yeah.
a lot. And
Yeah,
I've had
still,
this
though.
for a long time.
Right. So there you go. So even so yeah.
And you can buy smaller, you can buy quarts, you can buy
Right.
half gallons, pretty much any size that you want.
Right.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it. Do it, experiment with it. Maybe it won't come out perfect the first time, but you'll figure it out really quick because it's just you got your mold A and B, you got a part. It's really
That's
great.
awesome. Now you can obviously we talked about, and we'll have the information as far as you can add dyes to your resin.
Yep.
Do you know though if you can paint the resins different? Like if you need to do something else, can you spray paint it, or will it take paint, or do you need to do you have to rough it up to make the paint stick, or how?
No, I have no problem painting with
Okay.
just spray paint. So
Okay, cool.
it's basically plastic, and
Okay.
so that's the great thing about it is once it's demolded, it's ready to paint.
Okay. So if you wanted to, you could probably take some sandpaper to it if you wanted to give a little extra, just so that but still it'll take some paint if you needed to add to it. Very cool. And you feel like that these items, we always talk about 3D printed PLA and so forth in the wild. And so as far as these pieces out in the heat of California at times, or Texas, or the cold of Vermont, for some of our Vermont people that are on tonight, the differences in temperatures, do you feel like it'll do as well as
Oh, absolutely. So the nice thing about this stuff, it's a plastic, it's called a thermoset, which means it becomes hard. It doesn't soften up under heat or cold or anything. It doesn't affect it at all. So it basically just combines two chemicals into one big molecule and becomes hard and like plastic. And you can't melt it. It's unmeltable at that point.
Wow.
So it can survive almost anything. It's really tough, very difficult to break. Wonderful stuff. Yeah. And like I said before, you can get different properties. You can get really soft rubber. You can get really hard rubber. You can get hard plastic. Boy, whatever, polyurethane is universal. You can get a ton of properties.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, great. This was great tonight, Doug. If there's any more questions, we're kind of getting to the end. So if you have a question you want to put in the chat room, please do so. So all the boys will be back next Tuesday, I think. Hopefully, Derek will have recovered. His whole family was sick. Now, ironically, he had like his parents, his wife, Curtis. I think everybody got sick but Nikki. So Nikki is the true warrior of the Baker family. She didn't get sick. And then I'm not sure when. I assume Chad will be back next week. I know obviously he's down at Disneyland, so that's awesome. So, so Doug, what are some other sort of final thoughts to give people tonight on resin casting?
So like I said, it's not difficult to do. I think anybody can do it. And like I said, your box doesn't have to be plywood. It can be made out of foam core board or cardboard, or it could be just the lid of a container. Because once you pull that silicone out, it doesn't leave any residue. You can use it as a lid again. So there's a lot of options you can use to make your molds. And once you have them, they're much easier to do. I have caches that I make a lot of, because I use them as traders. They're basically, if I want something from somebody else, like say, here, and it's really great because it's like, you can get something 3D printed that you want, that I don't 3D print. I should, I wish I did.
But still, this is clever.
Yeah, and so it's very quick and dirty. You can make a lot of stuff with that putty. You can take a mold of anything. There's enough in there to make a baseball size a wad of this stuff. Just form it over anything you want. It could be on a bridge, for example. If you're on a pedestrian bridge and you see something, you go, "Hey, why does that block have something and this block doesn't? I'll bet if I put something there, no one would notice." So you make a mold of that, cast it, and ready to go.
Yeah. Hugh's asking about the GCs. Yeah, any of the ones that Doug's, a lot of those aren't out in the wild yet, but any of them that Doug can share, he will get those added
Yeah,
for
so if you go
sure.
to Roomba Cats, just look up Roomba Cats and geocaching on Instagram and on TikTok. You'll see a lot of my videos.
Yeah.
So I've tried to post as many as I can. I've got some new ones that I haven't posted yet, but you'll be able to see a lot of them.
Yes.
And
Awesome.
please, if you like them, by all means, copy them. Also, I'm creating a drawing book with dimensions and everything. If everybody wanted to copy those as well, so I'm in the
Awesome.
process of making that.
Yeah. If you have any comments on tonight, a couple things, you could send a gadgettalkpodcast@gmail.com. You can also go out to the Twitter is at Gadget Talk Podcast, Instagram out there as well. But if you have anything you'd like to share, that would be great. So Doug, man, this is awesome. You got me fired up. I got some. My brain is spinning now, so I got to think of. I got to make one because you're not too far away from me now. I got to make one, and then once I get it out there, I'm gonna go. Guess what, Doug? You gonna come now? I probably coax you over this way. I need to get out more. But anyway, yeah. So Pizza Ninja, you're right. Doug does rock, and he's asking if you're coming all the way down to Conroe. Doug, are you planning to go to Conroe in middle of March or?
So my company has me in California right now. I'm trying to train my replacement, but
Okay.
it's taking a little longer. So it all depends on how well
Right.
that goes. And so I'm dying to get back there. I absolutely love it there. And so
Yeah,
it happens.
very cool. Yeah. Again, thanks so much, Doug. That was a lot of fun, and we'll get together soon. As soon as you get back to Texas, we'll try to work out some time together. Oh, look, Chronically Tire Mom. I almost think I could make a cache.
You could.
You
It's
got
so
her
easy.
going. You got her going. You got
You
her
can do
excited
this.
for it. You do make one. Let us know. Send us a photo, and we're going to show it. Or if you don't feel comfortable showing, practice a little bit if you want before you make one that you want to show everybody. But either way, make one. Let us know, and that'll be great. So you've inspired everybody tonight, Doug.
It's awesome.
All right. Yes. Thanks, Doug. All right. We'll see everybody next week, next Tuesday. So see you then. Bye. Good night. Let me find where's their